Welcome, everyone. We'll be waiting 2 to 3 minutes to get started as a courtesy to those who are still in the middle of connecting. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us and thanks for being part of our community. We have a great topic to cover today, but first, a few reminders. Feel free to ask questions at any time by typing them in the IM window. Be aware that any questions you post will be publicly visible. However, if you prefer, you can post your question anonymously by checking the box right below where you enter it. We often get many questions on these webinars, and we will do our best to respond to all of them in real time, but I want to provide an additional mechanism to ensure any questions we miss get answered. If you'll visit aka.ms/ASC community, you'll be able to ask questions on our Azure Security Center forum. If you're listening to this after the fact as a recording, that's also a great place to ask a question. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared publicly. We will post the recordings on our community at aka.ms/ASC recordings. While you're there, please join our community by visiting aka.ms/security community. That's the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements. On our community, you can speak directly to our engineering teams that create our security products. You'll be able to influence our product designs and get early access to changes by doing things like participating in private previews, requesting features, giving feedback, reviewing our product roadmaps, attending in-person events, or joining webinars like this. We believe that the best way to improve our products is by removing any barriers between you and the people that create them, so we hope you'll join us. We have a fascinating topic for you today. We'll be talking about security score in Azure. I'd like to introduce you to our presenter, Miri Landau. She's a senior member of our Azure Security Center team, so she has deep expertise in this topic. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to her. Miri?
Yep. So hi everyone, and thanks for joining. Today, I will talk about Azure Security Center, focusing on the cloud security posture management capabilities and specifically on Secure Score. We'll be covering on how Security Center can make the security admin and CISO life easier, deep dive into Secure Score, the current and what our upcoming plans, then how you can improve the secure score, how you can manage policy. If time left, then I will do a short demo and leave some time for questions. So let's begin. So the first thing that I want to introduce you is a little bit kind of an introduction on how security admins work today and how we can help them with Security Center. So today, when the Contoso CISO asks a security team to define a security strategy for the company, that's not a simple job, because now the security architect needs to learn the security landscape and need to come up with all the security configuration that he needs to deploy in his environment. And that's an ongoing task because there are emerging threats, there are new resources that coming, there are new resources that introduced and new past services. He needs to triage them, needs to evaluate them, and that's an ongoing task that he needs to do. And then he needs to analyze what would be the possible impact once he will deploy it in the organization. He needs to deploy to test environment and then decide what's the impact and then roll it to in the entire organization. And of course, that's an ongoing process. And you need to visualize what's the resource, what's the health of the resources in the organization on an ongoing basis, and all the configuration that are keep changing. And at the end, you want to show some progress. So every quarter, the SEC admin needs to present to the CISO or to the team what's the security posture, and then he needs to create manual reports to do that. So all in all, this is not that easy because there's no continuous assessments in place. There's no automatic security baselines in place. There's no coverage for new resources and new threats. It's an ongoing task to do and maintain that. There's no visibility to the security posture, and there's no easy way to track progress and way to easily remediate. And we want to make the SEC admin lives a lot easier. So what we can do to help the SEC admin? And in the next slide, I will describe the same flow, but with Azure Security Center. So at the same time, again, he needs to come up with a security strategy. But now, using Azure Security Center, he has out-of-the-box default security policies that assess automatically all the resources in an organization. In a minute, he can see all the resources in Azure portal and see the health of these resources. He can also adjust the policy and decide whether he wants to add his own custom organizational policies. And of course, this list of policies is maintained and is being updated when new resources or new type of resources are introduced into Azure or new security configuration are being added. Not only that he has now a view into the health of the resources, he gets all the security recommendation in prioritized manner, and he can see the exact score and the impact. What would happen? How would I raise my secure score? Because now we introduce you with an overall secure score that represents how protected you are against the baseline. And this, now you have an ongoing visibility, and you can adjust it if you see that it doesn't meet your organizational needs, or you provide some other kind of solution by other third party. So with that prioritized list, you would want to deploy and fix. You don't need to do to write your own script, because you have just in a single click in the portal a native experience that you can click and you can fix the resources that needs attention. And you can also enforce a security configuration that would prevent this from happening, meaning that you can enforce this configuration on create or update of a resource. And all in all, you can easily show now to the CISO or to the organization that your security posture was improved, and all of that thanks to all the tools that are in place that Security Center can offer. To summarize all of that, I want to show you the capabilities that we have for all this life cycle. So the Security Center policy is automatically assigned. It provides you with a visibility to all the resources held. Then you get a secure score posture, and I will deep dive to explain later what is it exactly. But you have a prioritized list of items. Each one of them, each recommendation has a score. You also have an overall score. You have the option to remediate and prevent in a single click a bulk of misconfiguration on bulk of resources. You have the ability to make report and export the data, and you can also extend the policies with your own custom policies. And that's how this cycle continuously updates, the policies continuously updates. Today we have something around 100 recommendation, and this list is updated basically we add more and more as we go. So a little bit now about secure score. So what is a secure score? Secure score is a measurement of an organizational security posture, and with a higher number indicating lower risk. As you can see on the right image, this is how we represent it. Basically, we say you get 508 points of 950, which is your potential points that you can get according to your policy. Once you have a number, now it's easier for you to report on the security posture. It's easier for you to compare between different subscription, different divisions, and kind of establish an organizational posture and KPIs, and you can easily now show progress. What you can see here in this image is you can see how Security Center dashboard looks like. And you can see this is the overview dashboard. And you can see on the left, this is our main KPI, the secure score. And this is our main criteria. And now you probably want to deep dive and see, okay, what is this states? And you can see now that we provide you for each one, for each subscription. In this case, you can see that there are 3 different subscriptions. For each one of them, you can see what's the score. So you can compare now between the different subscription. You can see which one needs more attention. Soon we will also provide it for a management group. Management group is the ability to group together subscription into a management unit. So you'll have score for that as well. And you can also see the overall secure score for these 3 subscriptions all together. What is your overall secure score? Now you see that you want to see how what needs to be done to improve the secure score, and how what are combined from. So you click on this, and this is the concept of recommendations that we have today in the system. So we have set of recommendations. Each recommendation represents the security configuration that you need to apply. So for example, MFA should be enabled on accounts with owner permissions. You can click on that and you can see the misconfigured accounts. You see here that you have a column for secure score impact, which means if I will fix that, how many points I will get, and it is prioritized. So going back to the life cycle, as we said before, you already see that I have in place set of recommendation. I already know what I need to do, and it's already prioritized for me, so I know where I should put my focus, what would give me the best points that reflect basically that I raised my security. And today we have many recommendations that cover all kind of aspects. They cover access and identity, which most of it is subscription, such as enable MFA and manage accounts. We have compute, we have on VM and VM scale set, all kind of app services, all kind of recommendation. We cover SQL servers, and storage. We cover network aspects, and we also cover apps. And for each one of them, we have different recommendation, and each one of them has a score. And now a little bit to explain what is the logic and how the secure score is being calculated. So as you can see, each recommendation has a score. And each recommendation has a max score, which means that's your potential. If you'll fix everything, you will get the max score. And so each healthy resources get points. And the current score is basically how many resources are healthy. Out of the total resources, multiple the max score. Basically, if you fixed all the healthy resources, then you'll get the max score. And the overall subscription score is the sum of all the recommendations current score. I will show you an example. So here is an example of a recommendation. And here you have a view of how a recommendation looks. So for example, we have auditing on SQL Server should be enabled. We have a description. We have general information, what threats it's cover, remediation step, how to remediate, and I'll touch that a little bit later. And you see the affected resources. In this case, you can see that there are 3 unhealthy resources and 2 healthy resources, which means we have 5 resources. And you can see in the general information that 2 are healthy, as you can see below, out of 5. 5 is the max score. So if I have 5 resources and 5 points, then each resource can get basically 1 point. In this case, I have 2 which are healthy, then my current score is 2, and my recommendation impact is +3, because if I will fix these 3 resources, then I will get 3 more points. So that's the idea behind the score and behind explaining to you and motivating you to fix things, because when you fix, then you get more points, and when you get points, eventually you raise the security in your organization. Now, this is the model that we have today in place, and we wanna enhance this model. And what I'll describe now is what are our upcoming plans and about the model and how we plan to update that. So today we have many recommendations and they are sorted, but they are not grouped together into areas. What we want to do is we want to group the recommendations together into logic containers, which we call security controls. And now we want to give the score not to each one of the individual recommendation, but to what we call the security control, which is a group of recommendation. And the grouping is done for recommendations that are covering the same area or either related to one each other or dependent to one each other. So, for example, and you can see here in the mock, all the recommendations that belong to MFA would be under control, which is called enable MFA, and all the recommendations that belong to secure management ports, such as you need to associate NSG with virtual machine, and you need to define the management ports, or to do just in time. All of them are about the same area, and they depended on each other. And sometimes there are alternatives. So you can either, for example, apply just in time access, or you can configure your management ports. It makes sense to group all of them together because sometimes they also depend. One is depend on the other. One is a prerequisite for the other. And it makes more sense to group them together because if you only did one, you didn't complete the entire idea behind the security, and basically you've done only part of the configuration. So to summarize the benefits of this grouping together, the benefits of this new model is that security controls represent a complete unit of actions to complete a security configuration. In the example, you need to install an NSG, but you also need to close management ports in NSG. And only if you complete the 2, then you will get the point. The other thing beyond that is that now that they are grouped together, you can better represent the scope and probability of attack. We wanna have a connection between the security breach, the security threat that you want to protect from, and the configuration that you want to apply. And grouping it together into logical units makes it easier to relate, because now I know that I need to improve my access and management in order to protect from certain types of attacks. And it also, the last bullet, it's also focus customers on areas that needs improvement. If today we had many recommendations sorted only by order of their impact, but they didn't tell a story, they didn't say, where is my weakness, what are the areas that I need to improve, and how it would be related to some kind of threat. What do I need? For example, do I need to improve my auditing and logging, or maybe I need to strengthen my network security? Now that we group them together, you can make a conclusion and you understand where do you need to focus. So what we did basically is we took all of our recommendations and we grouped them into these logical security controls. We prioritized them, and here you can see kind of a whole list. We of course would not go through them together, but I will give one example. For example, apply system updates. It consists, first you need to install a monitoring agent, you need to install the system updates, but and afterwards you also need to restart in order for that to apply. In this case, for a single VM, I need to complete all these 3 actions in order to receive a point, because to really cover and really apply system update, I need to do all the 3. And that's why it makes sense that I will get the points for this specific machine only if I completed my mission end to end. So we came up, and this is not a final list, and of course this list is going to be updated, and more recommendation will be added to each one of the categories, and the categories might change over time, but these are kind of our current thoughts. This is the list of controls in the various areas: enable MFA, secure management ports, remediate vulnerabilities, apply system updates, enable advanced threat protection, manage and access, restrict access to from public internet, remediate security configuration. Here we're meaning like OS configuration and container configuration, adaptive application control, encrypt data in transit, enable encryption at rest, enable endpoint protection, DDoS for VNet, apply data classification, and enable auditing and logging. I would want to emphasize that some of the controls can be on different resources. So for example, enable auditing and logging, we have set of different resources that you can apply auditing, SQL, storage, all kind of VM, all kind of different resources, but they are combined together into the same control because they belong to the same area. And there will be some recommendations which can also be unscored because either they are optional or maybe they do not fit, they might not fit all organizations or all environment, but still we would want to have Azure Security as the Bible of all security configuration. So you will be able to see all the security configuration in one place, and we will help you to prioritize your work and understand the security impact. Another concept that we wanna bring to the table is what we call a grace period. As I mentioned, the recommendation system is something that is live and it's updated, and that's for we bring new recommendation in preview mode. We don't want it to affect your score immediately. We want you to give you the time to see the impact, to react to it, to understand how it would influence your score. And then that's why we want to introduce the grace period, which means that in a certain period of time, this would not influence your score, but you might be able to see the impact. If you will fix that, then how will it improve your score? So what would be the new calculation logic now? We move from the fact that we have score per recommendation to the fact that we have score per control, and each control now has a max score, and resource contribute points only if it passed all the recommendation in the same control. So like in my example before, for the endpoint protection, this single VM needs to go through all 3 recommendations to be healthy for all the 3 to get the single point. And again, then the current score would be the number of healthy resources for all recommendations in the controls out of the total resources in the control, multiplied by the max score. And the same, the overall subscription score would be the sum of all the current score for all the controls. To give you an example, for the apply system updates, if there are 3 recommendations, there are 30, the max score is 30. If I have 5 VM, then each of them can contribute either 0 or 6, and it will get this resource will get 6 points only if it meets all the 3 recommendations. Another example, for example, is the enable advanced threat protection. In this case, I have 2 different recommendations on 2 different resources. One is advanced data security on SQL. The other one is on virtual machine. And then in this case, let's say that I have 10 resources, 5 SQL and 5 VM. If the max score is 30, then each can contribute 3 points. If it passed only 1 recommendation in this case, because the recommendation is relevant only for 1 type of resource. So I hope that that the logic is clear. I want to show you a little bit how would it be reflected in the portal. So now when you open the recommendation blade, then you can see the different controls. You can see the type, whether it's come from ASC default policy, whether it come from your own custom policy that you drafted, and whether it's come from third party, because in the future we would also be extensible for third party recommendations as well. You can see the secure score impact per each, and it's of course prioritized. If I open each one, if I open them, then you can see the concept that we will show you, whether there is a dependency between the recommendations and whether there is an alternative fix. So you can understand that you can either, for example, apply JIT or configure your management port. We will reflect that. And here, this is the security. This is the security dashboard. What we plan to have here, basically, this is mainly to understand what is my organizational security posture. So I can see here 65%. We are moving to percentage because it's much easier to compare when you have a percentage and to understand how well am I doing rather than points. We heard it a lot from customer, which makes a lot of sense. We also provide you with organizational tree. So you can see each one of your management group, each one of your subscription, the secure score for each one of them. And today we do not support management group level score. So that's something that we also plan to have. We want to provide you insights, how you can improve, what happened, why your score changed, what you can do to be better, to improve your score. And we keep hearing a lot customers that would want to have secure score over time. We understand and we realize the importance in that. So we plan to provide you with secure score over time, with historical analysis and ability to drill down and understand what happened, whether it's because more resources were introduced or maybe because new recommendations were added, and what exactly happened that that changed my score. So you must be wondering, how can I improve my secure score? So not long ago, we introduced what we call SingleClick Remediation. We have lots of recommendations in place. We wanted to automate the remediation and make it easier. So you can see in the list of recommendations, the ones that have one-click fix badge means that you can apply a quick fix. Under the hood, what we're using basically is template deployment or REST API call to apply the configuration on the machine. And by that, you can easily raise your secure score. So in this example, for example, I see the secure transfer to storage account should be enabled. I see the one-click fix badge. I click on it. The recommendation is open. I see now the list of unhealthy resources. I can decide which storage I want to fix. I can start with 1 or 2, understand the implication. There's a confirmation box that's being opened, explains to me what will happen, what would be the impact. And then I click on remediate the resources and it is applied, and I can see it in after a short while. I can see that these resources are now in the healthy resources. And this is a very important because it makes much easier and helps you to fix things in a simple way. And also, once you see that it's working and you are happy with the impact, then you can also implement and enforce policy, and this is something that also we will allow you to prevent this from happening again upon creation or update of a resource. We also have a GitHub repository, and that I would not deep dive into it. There might be a dedicated session for that. But you can visit our GitHub repository. There is a link on the bottom of the page. There you can find automation samples, how to remediate recommendation through logic apps or Azure policy. As I mentioned, we have the deploy if not exist functionality or the deny. You can click on that. You can see, like in the example on the screen, there is already scripting in place that you can deploy to Azure, and then you can basically apply that. And we will also open this GitHub for customers also to contribute their own scripts, so we can have ongoing community that can contribute one to each other. So we will extend this repository more and more. Few words now about policy management. So first of all, as I mentioned, Azure Security Center comes already with default initiative that is assigned automatically to each one of your subscription. You don't need to do anything. As soon as you in the portal goes into your subscription, go into Azure Security Center portal, already you have the policy in place. And you can see all the configuration. You can also go to the security policy and see the list of the securities. And you can also decide whether you want to disable some of the recommendations. If you want to do that, then you go to this screen and this link, and you can just change the mode of each one of the policies. Under the hood, we're using Azure policy. All our policies are basically represented as an initiative in Azure policy, and each recommendation is basically a policy in Azure policy. And once we add more and more recommendation, it seamlessly goes into the same initiative, and you get these updates without any maintenance required. We also support management group. Management group is a concept in Azure that allows you to group different subscription into a management group. And with this management group, you can apply policy on the management level. So if you wanna manage the policy on the management group, then you can do that, and you can assign Azure Security Center also on the management group itself, and then you can manage several subscription as a management group level, and we support it. And as I mentioned before, we will also give you a score on the management group, and we want to push more and more customers to use management group because it's an easier way to manage an organization policy. Okay. a little bit about custom policies. We understand that customers want to extend Security Center configuration with their own drafted customized policies. There are some customers that already using Azure policy to write their own custom policies, and we want to have the extensibility to allow them to see these security policies as a recommendation in Azure Security Center, being them part of the secure score, and to allow them to manage all the security aspects and all the security configurations in one place. So we just introduced private preview a few days ago that allows you to do that. Basically allows you to onboard your own custom initiative. You can see in the screen below, you had add custom initiative. You basically make a custom initiative in Azure policy, put there your own policies, just add it here in a click of a button, and then you can see the recommendations. You can see the recommendation showing up in the recommendation place, all managed in the same place. You have the custom badge so you can identify them easily, and that's it. You can manage everything here in one place, and you can have all the reports and everything in the same system. Okay, the last thing that I want to introduce you is another angle for policy management, which is the regulatory compliance. So Azure Security Center also have the regulatory compliance pillar, which allows you basically to assess your environment for known regulatory standards, such as Azure GIS, PCI, ISO, and SOC TSP. So if you're a standard tier customer, then automatically you'll have all the assessment result for this regulatory compliance in Azure Security Center, which is a great capability for customers that care about regulatory compliance. You can see the list of assessment, you can see the list of controls per each. And these days we also open a private preview, which allows you to add more and more standards. So we are working on extending, supporting more. We introduced lately NIST and UK and many more to go. And now you have an experience where you can have more standards. And once you click that, you can select which standards you want to apply. And you'll see this in the same dashboard, in the same recommendation blade. You can now extend to more regulatory standards that you are interested in. And out of the box, you have this set of 4 regular standards. Okay, so let me do a quick demo. Okay, I'm in Azure Security Center portal. I click on this green icon of Security Center. There's no need to install anything at this point. This automatically assess my environment. In this case, we are supporting multi-subscription, so it's already here showing for subscription. And in a few minutes, I see here the overview. What I can see here, I can see the secure score of 617, like I showed before. You can see the regulatory compliance, how many pass control I have from each. I can see subscription coverage. We are supporting standard and free tier, so you can see how many subscription I have in the different tier, fully or partially covered. I can see the list of recommendations. I can also see how they are divided between the different resources, and here I can see which resources by category needs more attention. We also have the threat protection pillar, which I would not cover today, but we also provide you with security alerts. The secure score, this is the dashboard where you can see the organizational security posture. You can see the different subscription. You can see the score per each. You understand from here where do you need to put your focus. You can view the recommendations. Here I will see the list of recommendations. In this case, I see that I have 4 recommendations. I can see the score per each one. So for example, I'll take the MFA. You can see all the details about the recommendation, and you can see either manual instruction or you'll have the one-click fix. In this case, we do not have yet one-click fix, so you can read the instruction and you can click and you can route from here. I want to take an example of another account where I have one-click fix. Okay, so you can see here, I can see all the list of all recommendation. I click on secure transfer to storage account. Here I have the ability to do one-click fix. Again, I see that the max score is 20. If I will fix all the resources, I will get 18 more points. I can now select few resources or maybe even select all, and I can click on remediate. I will read now what would be the impact of applying this fix. I will click remediate 3 resources, remediation in progress, and that's it. I'm done. In a few minutes, I will see the healthy resources. So very easy and very helpful, and we got received many good feedback on that. I want to also show you the regulatory compliance. In regulatory compliance, there is a dashboard with all the different compliance and their assessment results. You also can see that we divide our recommendations into categories such as compute and apps, networking. So if I want to deep dive and see specific recommendation only for networking, then I can click on this, and then I will see only the things related to networking. We also support IoT. So there is also dedicated recommendation for IoT, also for data and storage if I want to see that. So for some reason it's not loading yet. Let's go to this subscription. I want to show you the policy management. In the security policy, you can see all the management groups that you have and all the subscription. And let's say that I want to understand which policies do I have on this specific subscription. So I click on this subscription and I see it's divided now to 3 pillars. I have the security center default policy. That was the default policy that was applied. In this case, someone also applied additional policy. So that's why I see here that there are 2 policies applied. The industry and regular standard, this is a standard feature, so I need to upgrade to see the standards and to add more standards. And here is the custom initiative where I can add a custom initiative. Here there will be a new experience which says that I can create new. In this case, I have already this custom initiative that was already created, but I want to add it to the product. I want to visualize all the policies inside as a recommendation. In this case, for example, I can look at the policy. I can see on the initiative, I can see which policies it has. And once I click add, then I can visualize them as recommendations in Azure Security Center. So all of these will transform into recommendations. I click, it's already assigned on the subscription, so I only click add, and basically policy was added. You can see it's here, and it will take some time, like around, might take like 20 minutes or so, and then I will be able to see them in the recommendation blade with the custom badge. So I think I covered most of the main features that I wanted to cover in this webinar. What we'll have now is some time for questions.
Great, thank you, Mary. Question on customization. To what degree can you customize the policies? And we've got a specific one around that. Can you add a deny action to a policy?
Yes, that's a great question. So today, basically, when you go to a policy from the security policy, you can open the policy, you can open the ASC initiative, and from there you can apply a deny. We already supporting this, and we will also make it more simple, less clicks. So I went to security policy, I'm clicking on the ASC default, and now I will be able to change it, to edit the assignment and transform it into deny or to disable. And we understand today that customers a little bit struggle to understand this flow. So we are planning to make it more easy and more accessible from the recommendation blade. So for each one of the recommendation, in a click of a button, you will provide you with the ability to disable or deny. So here, for example, some of the recommendation, you can change here. This one, for example, you can disable or enable, and I don't know why it doesn't open for me. Anyway, you can change it. You can open it and change it to deny.
Great, thank you. What kind of exporting capabilities are there in order to use in presentations or requirements gathering or reporting?
So reporting capabilities, today we are working on exporting our recommendations to SIM. Today we already have SIM connector for alerts. We are already also working on exporting our recommendations into SIM. We are working also on providing report from the portal itself to export all the recommendations. By the way, it's already possible today from Azure Advisor. You can also export all ISC recommendation, and we'll also provide it from the portal itself soon. And we also planning to have export capability to log analytics.
Okay, great. There was a question earlier around, will the secure score recognize when you deploy MFA via conditional access?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Some people were saying it appears that it only recognizes MFA if you apply it directly rather than via conditional access. Is that something we plan to support?
Yes, yes. Yes, we are going to support conditional access today. We also already analyze and see if there is conditional access in place.
Okay, great. Does this functionality come with, is ASC standard required for this? And can you talk about, are there any charges related to Secure Score?
No, Secure Score is part of the free tier. Recommendations are part of the free tier. So no additional cost involved.
Okay, great. Is there any sort of audit role for an auditor to have type of read-only access?
Read-only access to the portal to see the data?
Yeah, so if somebody was using their secure score for tracking in an audit.
Basically, today you cannot apply remediation if you don't have permissions on the resource itself. Meital, do you want to add some more information?
Yeah, there's a security reader role that provides access only to security center data, which includes, of course, the recommendations, compliance data, and secure score, and any other security center created information, and only for read mode. So that's a special role created for security center reader.
Okay, great. You mentioned the management groups earlier. Does each management group have its own score?
Yes, it will have. Each management group would have its own score, which will reflect the score of all the resources in the management group and underlying subscription.
Okay, great. And I just want to remind folks too, if you want a question for me to raise verbally like this, now is the time to submit it. So now's your chance if you want me to raise one to Miri, but I'm going to keep going with some of these other ones here. We had some feedback that the support for PAS is currently a bit limited. Do we plan on expanding that?
Yes, we are. We are constantly working on adding more and more support, also extending our support for current resources that we support, and also supporting more and more PAS. Eventually, of course, we want to have a full coverage for every Azure resource.
Okay, great. Can you explain the difference between the controls list and the actions list? There seemed to be a little bit of confusion around that.
What is action list?
That was all I had on the question, was the difference between the controls list and the actions list. Maybe the remediations is what they meant by actions.
Maybe the recommendation list.
Recommendations, yeah.
Okay, so basically the control list would be a grouping of the recommendation list. So instead of having a flat view, we would have an hierarchy of controls and the underlying recommendation. The recommendation basically is the implementations of the control. To achieve the control purpose, you need to fix a certain set of recommendations.
Okay, great. And then we had a question about a scenario when somebody has a external control in place, like an external WAF that ASC can't see or recognize. Is there a way for them to reflect that in the secure score?
That's a question that I need to think about and see. The time being, I'm not sure that we're supporting resources that we cannot recognize.
Is it something they could indicate through a custom policy and kind of exclude that, or?
I don't think that this would not be also a resource that Azure policy would know how to identify if it's external to Azure. So I can investigate that and reply back.
Okay, great. If whoever posted that question, if you want to post some additional detail to our forum, which I'll give the link again for in a moment here, we can follow up from there. Can you mention too the timing? Is this all available in GA right now, or some of it still coming, and what's coming when?
Some of the items that I show you are already in place. So for example, the current secure score model, the current recommendations are already in production. What's coming next is the custom policy, which is now in private preview, and I can say estimated time that's in around a month or two would be public preview, and close to it would be GA. That's the custom policy. As for the update of the secure score model and all of that, I can say that it will be coming soon.
Great, thank you. I want to post some links here for folks. If you have additional questions, or if we somehow didn't get to your question, you can go to aka.ms/ASC community and ask any questions on our forum there. If you're looking for the recording of this to pass around to other folks, you can find that at aka.ms/ASC recordings. And while you're there, please join our community, which is at aka.ms/security community. So let me explain these links a little bit. The earlier one was for our ASC community group in particular. The general security community one takes you to all of our security products, so you can join any of the other ones there. And we would love to have your feedback on this webinar and learn how we can improve and whether or not we're hitting on the most relevant topics for you. And you can give us that feedback at aka.ms/ASC webinar feedback. We'll take one additional question here. Let's see. It says someone's trying to work on NIST 853 compliance and 800-171 compliance in ASC. Let me read this question here in a moment. Can they do any customization around high severity alerts and how those affect the secure score?
Recommendation, I guess, if they can change the score. Is that a question?
Yeah, that seems to be the question.
At the time being, that's a good. At the time being, we do not allow customers to change or reflect the score. That's something that we might consider to open at later stage to let customers to do that if we see that's something that customers want.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I want to thank Miri for a fascinating presentation. We appreciate you educating us on all of this. And most of all, of course, I want to thank all of you for joining us. So we hope to see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.